Alright, so now it's time to deck. We're going to put a decking on this trailer as well as some side rails. I'm going to show you some kind of fancy stuff about the rails and the railing system that we got on here. It's kind of neat. But the first thing is I got a choice of decking. Originally when this trailer was built, the first type of decking we put on this was like a marine grade plywood, and that seemed to work okay. It didn't allow water to seep through and that type of stuff. The next time that I decked it, I actually used a 1x6 planking decking material, and that worked very well. I like that. But now that I've got a clean slate, I get to choose that again. And where I'm not going to make this show you how to cut wood video, although we'll see some things about cutting wood, but it's more so about the decisions that I'm going to go through. I got a clean slate. I can do anything I want to, right? So again, I can go back with plywood, which I don't think I want to do. I can go back with the decking, which is really what I'm going to do. And I also have a choice of doing expanded metal. The problem is the uses of this trailer. I'm going to be, for the most part, I'm going to be hauling around a 50-inch riding lawnmower, and so where those wheels go, there's a lot of stress on if I use expanded metal. So I think that's the reason I don't want to go that. Plus, I got these big gaps. I'd have to put in some metal bracing systems, so it's going to cost a lot more than just buying a sheet of expanded metal. So I don't want to go that route. I'm going to go back with the 1x6 decking material. I bought it actually quite a while ago. It's kind of dried out real nice, so it's not going to expand or shrink anymore. I can cut it pretty close to the length I want. We'll do some of that cutting as well as get onto the rails, the side rails, and show you how those are very easily removable and the direction I'm going with those. So stick around. Okay, so the first thing I get to critique is whether I run my decking boards front to back on the trailer. Here's the tongue, and the truck is this direction. So give you a little orientation on where we are on the trailer. Back of the trailer is this way. I can run them front to back, or I can run them side to side. The trailer is the inside to inside is 6 feet long and about 4 feet wide, and it's got this center brace here that these boards will rest on, meaning that this gap this direction is only 3 feet, yet this gap this direction is 4 feet. It just makes sense so that these boards only span a total of 3 feet. They'll be caught here, they'll be caught in the center, and caught at the end. It'll only have a 3-foot span. I really do want to run these boards front to back and not left to right. With that, I do need to find a good way of securing these boards. I want to lock them together, and I don't want to drill into all this metal too many times. I'll probably only, actually once I get this whole deck system built, only attach it with one bolt, just so if I'm running this trailer empty, I don't want this deck to bounce out. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to take this 2x4, and I'm going to run it in here about a foot away from here, or 6 inches away. And I'm going to run it while these deck boards will be resting on top of here. I want this board it's going to be down in this section running this direction. I'll be able to tie all these boards to that. So I'm going to take a measurement from inside to inside of this trailer here. I'm going to cut this board to length. I'm going to get kind of a wedge fit. And by have that running this direction, all of these deck boards will have a place to screw down to, and I'll do the same thing in the back. So let's get that board cut. Okay, so I got this brace piece cut and wedged in there. And I also got the back one cut. Don't make the mistake of cutting them both the same length. Measure everything. So this one was 45 1/16, and that was 44 15/16. So they had to be different, but I knew that ahead of time because I measured. So that's going to drop in here like that. Let me move this back so you can see. So these boards are going to sit on top of here, like I said, and then they're going to screw into this, and that'll tie them all together. It's going to also help keep them from warping, because I'll put 2 screws in there so this doesn't warp side to side. The next thing I'm going to do is, I know that based on my width, it's going to take 9 of these boards, and the 9th one, if I just cut one board narrow, it's going to be about 2 or 3 inches wide. And 2 or 3 inches wide with this length, that board is not going to be strong. So what I'm really going to do, instead of cutting one board narrow, I'm going to find out what the difference is. I'm going to cut 2 of my boards. I'm going to rip them so that they'll be 4.5 inches or something like that. We'll have to figure what that is. So the other thing I'm going to do is, I found this piece of scrap wood in my scrap wood pile, and it's probably the right thickness of the gap that I want to leave between these boards. If I leave a gap, water will soak through it, as well as any pine needles, that type of stuff. You don't ever want to trap that stuff. It just makes the thing look crappy. So I'm gonna cut this into strips. So I've got some spacers. I'm gonna go ahead and lay out all my deck boards, measure what my what that final, those two boards have to be. That way I know how to divide it, and I can make those two boards right width. So let me get that set up, and then we'll go through kind of that simple math. Okay, so I've laid out all my boards on the trailer. I've got them butt up against the driver's side of the trailer, against that metal, but then I've inserted my spacers between each board, and you'll see here's where that 9th board is going to be a small board. If I had a spacer here, that board, if I just did one board cut, it's going to be 3 inches. It's just not going to be strong enough in here where it's, especially if I put it in the middle. So instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece and I'm actually make the cutoff part of my 9th board and my 8th board. I'm going to split the difference between these two boards. So really what I'm going to have, I'll have a spacer, and then I'll have another spacer. So if I put this spacer, that's the one that'll go there. If I take this measurement, that's 8 5/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that in half. That's 4 5/16. I'll cut board number 9 and board number 8 4 5/16. And then I'm going to take those two boards and I'm going to put one of them against this side. This is the front passenger side of the trailer. I'll put one on this passenger side. I'm going to put the other one on the complete other side, just to split the difference. You almost won't even see them. But so I'm going to rip those next, 4 5/16, and then I'll be ready to start assembling and screwing this down. And again, this board is just going to screw down to that brace board that I put in the bottom. So let me get 2 boards ripped, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we got all the boards laid out, got our spacers in here, exactly how we're going to lay these out. The 2 boards that I cut a little bit narrow, I got one on this side and one on this side. This board actually I had to cut, it's not parallel, it's actually cut at a taper because this end of the trailer is a little bit narrower than that end of the trailer. So anyway, I made up for that, but it's a nice tight fit. Now what I got to do is I'm going to take these out, and I'm going to go to each one individually, and I'm going to clamp this bottom brace up against the bottom of that before I screw it in, because I want that to be a nice tight fit. So I'm going to start pulling these all together and getting them screwed down. Alright, so that's tight. I'll put, now this one's got metal right here. I'll put 2 tight screws here, and then I'll slide over and start doing this one, and we'll get this all started. Okay, I got the decking is now done. Got it evenly spaced, everything's screwed down, it's not gonna move. I wanna make a couple comments about the boards I used. First of all, it's a 1x6, so it's not truly it's like 3/4 by 5.5, I think is the true nominal size. One thing you gotta always look at is the grain. You wanna make sure you're putting the crown up. So all these boards were installed with the grain circling down high in the middle and low in the bottom. So it's actually cupped this direction. That way water will run off either side, that type of. So make sure you're installing your boards correctly. Also, when you're cutting these, look for staples. There's staples on the sides, there's staples on the ends. Make sure you clear that out before you do any kind of cutting. I checked all mine. I didn't go through any staples, but I had to remove a ton of staples, and I was surprised to even find them on the sides. But so that's that. The screws I use, these are galvanized, I believe would be the right word. It's an outdoor deck screw fastener, and these are the size I use is 1 5/8. prime guard exterior screw. So it's going to last up to the weather, not rust. Very simple screw. It's a Phillips head, so I can, from anywhere I can, you know, there's a lot of screws that have some odd fastener types or the screw down types, and you know, if you're out somewhere you got to take something off or something, you won't be able to find that type of screw, so I don't try and use those. I try and use something standard. So that completes that. Got a nice tight fit. I will make one more thing I'll do, and then that is I'll actually drill a hole through the wood and through at least the metal and get some kind of a metal screw into that just to hold it down so it doesn't vibrate off when I'm not using it. So now it's time to finish up with the rails. So let's go through that. I'm going to show you these kind of neat fasteners that my dad put on this trailer, and how this stuff works. So let me reposition the camera and I'll show you some more stuff. Okay, so all four sides of this trailer have these rail connectors. These are this is a 2-inch square tubing, and it actually has got a cap welded on the bottom, and there's actually a hole in there so water can drain out. So it's a cup basically for these rails to slide in. I went ahead and cut out of a tube. I had one 2x4. I was able to get the 12 pieces that I needed, and I cut them square on the bottom, and I just put just a decorative cut on the side so it looks kind of like that. And these will go in, these will slide in perfectly, and so they'll have 12 of these, 3 on each side. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and fit, I'm going to go ahead and start on this front one. I'll put in these and get some measurements of what I need. And what I'll do is I've got side rail, the actual rails that go on here. They'll actually go on this inside to inside, and they'll touch. So these vertical pieces will be on the outside of the rail system, and then there'll be 2, or I can't remember if I bought enough for 2 or 3 actual horizontal members that'll come across here. So by putting this in here, I can now get a measurement between this one and the other one. That'll be the length of this front rail, and then I'll do the same thing for the back. And we'll get these. I'll cut them to length. I'll clamp them. I'm going to screw them, and those will be done. The neat thing about this system also is a buddy of mine's got a motorcycle, and we're going to make another jig that'll drop down into these posts, and there'll be a board going across here, and then there'll be a cradle for his front tire. So we'll make a motorcycle carrying jig that we can just drop into this system, and then tie his bike down to these tubes and these clamps and rings, and he'll be able to use this to drive trailer his motorcycle around. As well as I have a sailboat, 14-foot sailboat that I'm going to use this trailer for. So I've built this rail, and it's actually got I kind of rounded off the top just by chamfering the both left and right side. This will get installed on these side rails, and I'm going to put a piece of webbing across this that'll go across from side to side and create like a bridle that the boat will rest down in. And so I'm going to do that later. But I went ahead, and since I had some extra wood, went ahead and cut these. I got 4 rails, 2 for this side, 2 for the other side, and there'll be I've already actually got the nylon strapping that goes between them, so I can build that later. But I went ahead and cut those since I was in post-cutting mode, and so let's get some of these installed and get some measurements, and then we'll start cutting some of these horizontal pieces. Okay, sometimes getting started is the hardest part, so you got to work with it. I went ahead and installed both riser pieces on here and the other side, and was able to measure from inside to inside, and that gave me the total length of what this board should be. So I've cut both of these boards. There's one, and here's the other one. And then to make sure I got this on here right this way, and this board's going to come out as far as it goes, and the rail that's coming down this way is going to butt into it. So this does need to be to this inside edge. That's how I got that measured. I went ahead and put a little sample piece or a scrap piece of wood, and I've clamped it on to simulate this board coming in, and I want this end to be flush with this outside, so that makes that. This post is vertical, this post on the other side is vertical, and that all matches up. So this board is now in here in the right position. I've got these posts. I'm ready now to screw in. It matters which way you screw. I don't want to screw this direction and have everything being held on by the thickness of this. I'm going to screw through this direction so I can get a good bite into this 2x4 that was cut down. So I'm gonna get these pieces screwed in, and this one is just sitting here loosely, the middle one, and I'll get that lined up, and we'll get this first one mounted, and then we'll I'm actually going to use, where is it, here's a small cutoff. Again, when you're buying this wood, sometimes the ends aren't very good. These pieces are a lot shorter than the stock that I bought, so was able to afford to cut off a couple inches, get to some good wood, and make this piece out of better wood. But this, I'm going to use this as a spacer. I believe this is the gap. No, that's a little bit too big. I'll probably end up using something like this as my spacer and have the next board down here. That looks about right. So I'll end up using one of these to create my spacers. So let me get this guy screwed in, and then we'll start working on the second piece. Okay, so I got the top board screwed in, and the bottom board, again, I used one of my vertical pieces for a spacer and got this thing clamped, so it is now ready to mount. And I got it flush on the ends, and it's ready to go. I'll start off by screwing in the middle one. I don't have it clamped. I've got it clamped on both sides. I'll get this middle piece screwed in, and then we'll go to the top here and get this piece done. Once I get this done, I'm going to get the back side done just like this. I'll do the same thing on the back side. Then I'll be able to start on my side rails, and those will just basically, the lengths of those will go between these two. So let me see how much that I can get done real quick. Okay, we're all done. We got all four sides put together. Those just pull right out if you need to. They're sunk down in there 2.5 inches, so they're not going to come out naturally. But got all four of those done, as well as those rails on the left, again for my boat. And then I went ahead and cut 4 more rails to make a special jig that'll support my lawnmower. Typically I've been pushing my lawnmower against this fence here, and the wheels push against the weak part of it, so I'm going to build something specifically for the lawnmower. So when I'm going to put the lawnmower in there, I'll put that special jig on there, and that'll be able to roll the lawnmower right up to it, and then ratchet the lawnmower forward against it, and it'll be extremely secure. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. There was 3 other videos prior to this on this trailer. One about painting, one about redoing the hubs, and one about 4-wire trailer wiring, complete wiring diagram and all on previous videos. So if you didn't see those, that's parts 1, 2, and 3. This will be part 4. And if it looks like it'll be interesting, I might do a 5th part showing some of those other drop-in components. So hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, like, subscribe, comment. We'd appreciate some feedback. Thanks.